As you can see behind me, Nima's working very hard. He's halfway through his 72-hour challenge, and we sent him to meet Hannah Price, top theatre director. Keep watching to the end of the video to see her top tips for directing a live performance.
Well, what I sort of would love to do is explore Shakespeare in a non-traditional way, and just for the voices to not sound like the voices you expect to hear when you hear Shakespeare.
I think that's a really brilliant idea and really ambitious.
Yeah.
And I think if you can get some people who really not into Shakespeare at all to really engage with it, then that's a really wonderful thing to achieve.
Because I just think they're the most brilliant stories. And since I was a kid, and I think a lot of, like, billions of kids around the world love stories, love really just a wicked story, there's nothing better. So you hear Romeo and Juliet being read in like an abbreviated version to you when you're a kid, and that's crazy, and then he killed her. Flipping out, that's mad. But then you sort of grow up and it doesn't belong to you anymore.
Yeah.
It's not your story. It's this grand story that's told on stage in a voice you can't relate to, in a language you don't understand. If he's a national poet, then he's for all of us.
Yeah.
And they're
not
just great
to be scared
stories.
of it.
Precisely, yeah.
One of the things I think is quite useful working with people who are sort of maybe not into Shakespeare is to kind of let them know that they're not stupid, that it's all right to look in the book and look up a word. You'll get something really brilliant out of people if they can get past that step where they think, what is this person writing 400 years ago got to do with me?
One of the ways that I thought would be useful is to get them to rewrite it or re-perform it in their own words.
Like, I think improving around the theme of it is a really good idea. That it can sometimes bring out stuff that you didn't know was in it.
Yeah.
And I think the speeches you've chosen are really good for that. Mark Antony is pulling some people over to his way of thinking in a kind of political sense, which we see all the time. And with Henry, it's the same thing. He's trying to rile people up and inspire them. I mean, it's a Shakespeare version of the Braveheart speech.
Yeah.
So,
you know what you said about there's certain turning points in the speech. So, for example, every time Mark Antony says Brutus is an honourable man.
Yeah.
Every time, so you have to hit those points, but in your own words.
Are you worried about how you're going to achieve this in this short amount of time?
Yeah, I'm terrified.
What is it in particular that...
The idea of putting on a play is quite daunting, or putting on a performance is quite daunting from scratch.
It's always a bit scary going into a room and being like, hi, listen to what I've got to say.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But that's sort of not what you do. You kind of go in going, how can I make this room a really fruitful place?
Yeah.
I would say be prepared. Like, when you go into a space, you don't know what you think. It doesn't need to be exactly what you want to achieve by the end of the hour. But if you let it get too stringy in a space, then you can find you haven't achieved anything. Or
So have a bit of control.
Yeah. So these are my top tips for putting on a great performance. Love what you do. Make sure that you've got a subject that you're really passionate about, because if you're going to be working on it, thinking about it, engaging with it for a long time, you need to really, really feel like you care about what you're talking about. Research, research, research. Whether you're using a script or you're devising, just make sure you've done your research around the subject. It will throw up some details, some interest that you didn't even know was there, that will spark off a whole raft of creative thinking. So find some collaborators. The most joyful thing is working with people you really trust and you really love, and you can really bring out the best in each other. Find people who inspire you and work with them. Always be professional. Whether or not you're doing a tiny one-off performance or something massive, always treat it with the same level of importance and you'll get the best work. And finally, have fun, enjoy it, learn, be inspired. Making work is brilliant fun, just enjoy it.